SMX's third Pro Motocross race of the year could be all about the brothers, but not just Lawrence. The Coenen twins in a visit from Europe in each class. Plus, Haiden Deegan, Jorge Prado, Kawasaki's resurgence in the 250 class, and another barn burner in WMX. Yeah, welcome to SMX Insider, the 20th round of the Monster Energy SMX World Championship this weekend. Third round of Pro Motocross Thunder Valley in Colorado. We're the Jasons, Wygan and Thomas. Things actually look a little more normal going into round 3 compared to round 2 because it appears that Jett Lawrence is back. I don't know if he's back, but he's a lot more back and a lot more like we're used to with Jett Lawrence than he was 7 days ago.
He's back enough, and it has to be the top thought. Has to be. You talk about a guy who has really kind of changed the projection and trajectory of SMX for the long term, starting in the summer of 2023. I think everything changed about what we thought we knew. And it's been a lot of winning and a lot of time on the sidelines for Jett Lawrence since then. But when he's right and when he's back and healthy, there's been a lot of winning in the wake of that. And we just got a taste of what a healthier, I'm not even going to say healthy, a healthier Jett Lawrence once again looks like, Weege.
Right. So maybe the biggest question going forward, not just for this weekend, but for the rest of the summer, the rest of all the different series is it back to the point where he did what he usually does, which is just keep on winning most of the races? Or is it still going to be track dependent, injury recovery dependent? And obviously there are still other great riders in the series. So is this now written in stone or not? I'd say that's the big question now.
Well, I don't think he's going to go, 18-0 from here on Moto wins. I do not believe that is the case. But the point is, he's back and capable of winning. Where round 1, I wasn't sure. I knew he was going to be good. I knew he'd be in podium contention each and every weekend, but I wasn't sure if he could go out and take it to his brother, Hunter Lawrence, or even Jorge Prado, because he couldn't at round 1. All of that is now not in question anymore. Now I think we're going to get into a real championship fight between those two.
Yep. And then there's plenty of others who we'll talk about on this show, from Jorge Prado and Haiden Deegan and the 250 class and more. But one of the other interesting elements of this weekend's race, the Belgian twins, who are now dominating MXGP over in Europe, the Coenen brothers, Lucas in the 450 class, Sacha in the 250 class, are coming to America. They're going to race this weekend. Now, we're going to get to our big interview with Red Bull KTM team manager Ian Harrison about them and the logistics to do this. But JT, when we talked to Ian on Saturday morning, the GP had yet to run in Latvia. They cleaned house in both classes, so they could not have more momentum before this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it in a lot of different ways. You could look at it and say, maybe they shouldn't be here because it looks like they have these championships firmly in hand now. Or you could say, no, this is even better because now they have a little bit of margin for error coming into these American races and the pressure is a little bit off. So choose your fighter, take whatever angle you want of this, but I'm going to tell you, we are in for a ride when those two riders arrive in America and roll into Thunder Valley.
Yep. Look for 2 new 3-digit riders, 1 per class with Red Bull KTM this weekend. For more, here we are chatting with Ian. Big interview. We're doing this one from Hangtown. We have the team manager for Red Bull KTM, Ian Harrison. A lot of news here, some good, some not so good. I'm going to start on the bad side, unfortunately. Eli Tomac, who probably be right in the championship talk today. Neck injury is always scary to hear. How serious do you feel it's been with the vibes you're getting? I don't know how much communication you get at this point.
Yeah, Eli and I were in contact a lot this week. Okay. He filled me in. He has a muscle tear in his neck and a tendon tear, and it's not like an ankle where you can wrap it and ride or something. Your neck is exposed and you have the weight of your helmet and all these other things. So he's going to be out for a few weeks. I'm glad that he knows exactly what the prognosis is now and the recovery time, and I'm just glad he's okay. So it's going to be a few weeks, but we miss him, of course, but ultimately happy he's okay.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit here, and by the time you all see this, we're at Hangtown. By the time this comes out, will be Thursday leading up into Colorado. And we have a couple of riders that seem to know what they're doing on the other side of the Atlantic in Lucas and Sacha Coenen. They're currently, as we sit today, Saturday at Hangtown, the championship leaders in both MX2 and MXGP. They're going to be racing for Red Bull KTM at Colorado. So can you talk to us a little bit about how we got here and a little bit of the logistics behind that, because it has to be a big ask to get them here in the middle of their race championship as well.
Yeah, a lot of it was from their side. They really wanted to come race in the US. They're two young Belgians, twins, which makes them unique. Some more brothers in our pit. It was a lot of work. It is a lot of work. They are leaving Latvia tomorrow night to fly here to train in Southern California on their practice bikes, and then they go into the race up in Denver. That'll give them a little bit of an edge when they go to the Grand Prix in South Africa, which is also at altitude. And they're just excited to do it. So we got everything together. KTM Austria asked us to take lead on this project, which we did. And so they'll be under the tent next week. We'll see how it goes.
All right, so now I have to ask you the hard question. They're coming over. They've made no, they're not hiding the fact that they want to be in America full time soon. So are you guys working through a plan to see both of them racing in America and over the long term?
Yeah, I think that's pretty special, actually, especially since the leader of our group, Roger, is from Belgium, and he also did a lot of racing here when he was younger. And I think they somehow would like to do the same thing. So, of course, that's the plan, and we're working on it. So we'll see what happens here in the next few weeks. I mean, they want it everywhere. So we'll see what happens.
How well do you know them? So on a race day, obviously you know your athletes well and you're trying to get the best out of them. Is it going to be like that, or is this more of you're learning them, they're learning you, and whatever happens on the track just takes care of itself?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jason. Yeah, I met them at the Motocross of Nations.
Yeah.
I watched them ride there for the first time. Then they came out to do some testing in, I think it was November, and we got to spend a little bit more time with them. But it's not much at all.
Yeah.
We're jumping in the deep end here, so we'll see how it all figures out.
Hey, last thing on that, listen, we all want Eli Tomac. Even his competitors, probably some of them want Eli Tomac out there racing. But on a staffing, level, we need to give them focus level, does it help a little bit to, have Eli Tomac not here so you can focus on what they need to bring to the table as well?
No, I would do anything to have Eli here, absolutely. But for them, it worked out for them because Jade will support, I believe, Lucas next weekend. So that helped them a little bit on flights and visas and all the other things that you need to do these kinds of trips,
All right, well, unfortunately, losing one of their top riders, but getting some fresh faces here. It's going to be exciting to see what the Coenen, not brothers, twins, can do this Saturday.
Ian is always friendly, always smiling. I can tell you he was still smiling even after the race at Hangtown, which is shocking because it ended up being a really tough day for their 450 team, which we'll get into. Maybe they bounce back this weekend. Here's how you can watch the Toyota Thunder Valley National. There is a live NBC component to the weekend, which is always great for the sport. And because of that, the 450s and 250s are going to flip. They're going to race 450 motos first and 250 motos second. There'll be a second WMX moto in there and the live SMX Insider post-race show presented by Bass Pro Shops. So that will start with race day live, qualifying coverage at noon Eastern. Of course, you can watch it on Peacock or the SMX Video Pass outside the United States. 450s will ride first, then 250s. The motos will start at 3 o'clock Eastern, 450s first. And that will, of course, roll for 4+ hours on Peacock and the SMX Video Pass. There will be a second live WMX moto. There'll be the live SMX Insider post-race show brought to you by Bass Pro Shops. And the NBC window will start at 4 o'clock Eastern, and that will cover the first 250 moto and the second 450 moto. Just stream it as usual, if that's what you're used to. Tell your friends if they don't subscribe to Peacock. This is a good chance to check in on what should be some awesome racing. And to make it a little more interesting, don't forget that SMX Betting and DFS Gaming are back for 2026. There are new sportsbook bonuses and prop markets live right now. So scan that flow code on your screen or visit nxtbets.com/playsmx and see what's available in your area. Always play responsibly. Well, JT, just starting with those two wild cards jumping in. Actually, I should say one, because the 250 class, there isn't any sports betting on that. But just Lucas jumping into the 450 class, that's going to make it that much harder to predict.
It is. And to say that Lucas is going to come over in his first ever race in America and win, I think is asking a lot. But hey, if you got a couple extra bucks and you want to take a flyer, it's not the worst bet I've ever heard. I would just say that. I don't expect him to win. but it wouldn't be the most shocking thing that I've seen even in 2026. So there's that. Maybe it's worth just maybe some lunch money to take a big swing at it.
Okay, time for the 30-second board. Hot topics in the sport. We're going to dive a little deeper into those Belgian twins coming over. They are the point leaders in the respective, what is the 450 and 250 class in MXGP. The shocking thing when you hear that Lucas Coenen is leading the 450 points is how young they are. JT, he is 19 years old. They're twins. They're both 19. But to think that the 450 points leader in MXGP is a year younger than Haiden Deegan, who's pretty darn young, that maybe illustrates quickly the talent level as best as we can with one line.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot here to unpack. When you look at these twins who are, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches height difference, crazy visually different looking, but Lucas is 3 minutes older than Sacha. I don't know how he grew that much more in those 3 minutes, but somehow he's done it. But I've been watching these kids for a long time. I watched them come up through the EMX ranks, through MX2, which Lucas has now graduated out of. And one mantra has stuck with them. I've heard them say it time and time again. They're only interested in winning. Like, they simply do not care about results or anything outside of finishing first. And I always looked at it kind of side-eyed and said, I don't know that that's a championship formula. There are going to be days, I don't care how good you are. Look at Jett Lawrence at the opener. Doesn't matter how good you are. There are going to be days where you have to settle for what is available. You can't just throw races away because you may not have a win in the cards. All of that to say, when they come over here for Thunder Valley, they really need to check themselves with that thought process. There's too much on the line for their individual MXGP championships and their future in America to come over here and just throw their motorcycle down the racetrack without them on it. Because I've seen Sacha do it far too many times. He gets excited, he wants to push the edge, and he will crash. Lucas seems to have grown out of that with the 450. I think the motorcycle allows him to go fast without taking the chances of that. But they are going to be legit. Do they win? Are they on the podium? Or do they have flashes of brilliance? That's what's going to make the race. That's what's going to be so fascinating to watch. But on a talent level, on a skill level, they're up there with the best of the best. We'll just see how that looks on this Saturday in completely new confines and a completely new environment than they're used to.
Yeah, I interviewed Lucas a couple of weeks ago, and he said, yeah, we know we have a reputation for crashing, but our strategy has always been you don't know where the limit is until you go over it. So I know if you're KTM, both MXGP and the SMX team, the only goal of the team is, please, guys, don't get hurt. But you're right, that's not often the number one goal of the Coenen. So we'll see how this plays out this weekend, because you know they're going to want to go fast.
Just to add one note to it for context, go back for those who are like, hey, what's this going to look like? Go watch Motocross Nations. Watch where they stacked up. Lucas kept Jett honest the entire first MX1 moto. He kept Jett Lawrence honest that entire time. So that's a little bit of an indication of he can go the pace. They dropped everybody else. And Sacha was doing incredibly well until he was actually ahead of Justin Cooper. Justin Cooper ended up running into him in that MX2 moto. So all of that goes to say they've already proven a little bit that they are capable of going up against our best. And we're going to get a second go around here this weekend.
Yeah, what I was going to say for the team perspective, look, they've got a lot of things going on right now. So Eli Tomac is out, as we heard with the interview with Ian. Not exactly sure. Aaron Plessinger, I think, expects to be back this weekend. He has had a rough season, which continued with a front flip in the second moto first turn at Hangtown. But the worst news coming out of Hangtown for that team is Jorge Prado, just like that. He's solid at round one, right there on the podium and in the title mix, and now he's suddenly 41 points down because of a DNF. And now he has a new teammate. I would imagine Jorge Prado, very proud, doesn't want Lucas Coenen to come in and beat him. So there's a lot of the agenda for Prado this weekend, starting with he's got to get points back.
Yeah, it's really easy to see that Saturday went very poorly for Jorge Prado. When I saw that he was 41 points down, I was shook. I could not believe that the damage was that bad, because this is a guy who, leaving round one, I don't want to speak for everybody else, I certainly thought he would be a championship contender moving forward, simply because he's back to being Jorge Prado. He's back to being the guy that we all thought he would be. Now, after round two, it doesn't mean he can't be competitive at races, but 41 points, you're going to make up 41 points to the likes of Jett and or Hunter Lawrence? Not in my book, you're not. So listen, it's not my place to rule anybody in or out of this championship fight. I'm just telling you, on the outside looking in, making up 41 points on those two guys, Godspeed to him, clawing his way back to anything competitive on a championship level, Leach.
Yeah, bike broke late in the first moto. He was in fourth, trying to run Deegan down for a podium. So you know that's where he is speed-wise, podium mix. And then that led to the bad gate pick, bad start, wasn't able to come through in Moto 2. So we'll see where his focus is and motivation for the weekend to get back in it. And now we move to the Lawrence brothers, who have now won both races. They're 1-2 in points. It is quickly looking eerily similar to other summers like last year. And it is amazing, JT, how many seasons do we come into Pro Motocross, SMX playoffs, at a high one for Monster Energy Supercross and think, there's 10 guys that can win. There's 8 guys that can win. And it is amazing how quickly, it's like a typewriter, Google it, kids, where it just, nope, we just shoved it out of the side. We just reset everything in 4 motos. And once again, they're back to being very, very, very hard to beat.
You know, it's such a strange and also amazing dynamic between these two because, listen, they love each other, right? And it sounds really obvious, but you can tell they are extremely close in all ways. Like they have each other's back. There's so much respect between the two, and they're very protective of each other when needed. But at the same time, you heard what Hunter Lawrence said to me on the podium, Leach. He said, you know, Jett's my toughest competitor. We are each other's toughest competitors because they know each other so well. There's no secrets they can hide from each other, and they're always trying to help each other to be better, which in the end would give away any secrets anyway. They're not holding anything back, so there's not like a tendency or something that they could find a leg up on each other. So it's this close family, tight-knit relationship, and also the fiercest of competitors. And hearing them strategically go at each other, where Jett's saying, you know, I thought Hunter may be laying up a little bit in the middle, and I went for it. And then Hunter kind of responded and said, yeah, I wanted to have a reset. And then that's when Jett attacked me. So it's one of those things where they know exactly what the other guy's going to do before they even do it. It's almost like you and I, we could finish each other's sentences at times. That's the same way these two are racing. They know exactly what they want to do to each other, which makes the job that much harder.
So now let's switch to the 250 class. The obvious headline is that Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki, for the moment, they're back. Like we said with Jett, back. We'll need more time to figure that out, but they've won the first 2 races. Levi Kitchen got the win at Hangtown. Seth Hamaker won the first moto at Hangtown, and the overall at Fox Raceway. They're 1-2 in points. For Hamaker, the starts have been incredible. Even the first turn crash that cost him a shot at the overall, his start was still good. It sure looks like the team that used to dominate is back to their old ways, but this is a very small sample size and a lot of unproven riders in this class, so I don't know exactly what to make of it quite yet, although it looks good right now.
I've seen enough. I think they have the best pro motocross team.
Okay.
They do. Those 2 guys, I think, are the most capable of winning motos right now and winning races. I think they've proven that. And if you really go back and look at Kitchen's track record, the history is there for it. Like, he has been this guy for a few years now, and everybody's been living in the shadow of Haiden Deegan. But if you look at who did Haiden really kind of threaten and go at, because he knew it was a concern, it would be Levi Kitchen and it would be Joe Shimoda. Well, Joe's having his own struggles. He's trying to figure things out, trying to find some pace, as he said. But Kitchen's still the same guy. He looks to be capable. He won the second round, right? It's the first time he's won a race in a long time. And then the rise of Hamaker has squarely put him in this fight the same way he's been in the Supercross fight the last 2 seasons. You sprinkle in some Nick Romano, which kind of came out of nowhere. This is a dynamic team that Mitch Payton has been waiting for a decade to resurface, and you forget about all the hard work. Yes, Cinderella won in 2019, but they have been systematically trying to position themselves for this type of effort. And Haiden Deegan was able to derail all of that. Well, guess what happens when you don't have Haiden Deegan? There's an opportunity there, and those boys in green have risen to the opportunity thus far.
I totally agree that the bikes and the riders are performing spectacularly, no doubt. But also part of this long title drought for this team is many years where they were awesome and then just heartbreak and bad luck cost them. So that's why I'm going to get to the point, if this continues, I'm just going to start waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is like the perennially cursed sports franchise where you're like, this is finally the year, and then something disastrous happens in a big game. I mean, we've seen, I think, Kitchen and McAdoo both with red plates on both coasts of Supercross crash into each other. The amount of times that they have ripped victory away at the last second, heartbreaking. Hammaker last year in Supercross. I'm still worried. I'm still worried until they're holding the darn plate. And to that end, the team that normally takes advantage of this is Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing. And it looked like this was the year that they didn't have the horses to go after this title. But oh, hold on. Maybe the quietest but biggest thing that happened in Hangtown is Cole Davies already has a moto win straight up. I know he won one last year. Bit of technicality on a penalty. But if he's this good already, I do not rule out the anvil drops again on Pro Circuit, and all of a sudden Cole Davies, oh, yeah, he's the guy.
It's a fair take. It's a fair take. And to be honest, I did not think Davies was there yet. Like last year, yes, he wins a moto. It was, penalty fuel to get there, all those things. And through the first 3 motos, it was like, okay, what I thought is what I'm seeing. Really good, not quite the best guy, not going to win a lot of races, but improving, will eventually get there. And then the 4th moto of this championship, he goes immediately to the front, gets a 10-second lead, and then not only does he hold it, he actually extended it a little bit over Levi Kitchen. So that was something different. That was much better than I expected. And I have to now think about that when I kind of project where we go from here. This weekend, I think, is pivotal for that story. If we see a little bit of regression, we see Davies running 3-4-5 all day again, I'm going to just say it was an anomaly. He got the start. There was one of the biggest first-turn crashes we've seen in years. Gave him that opportunity. But if he has follow through in Thunder Valley, wins another moto, I don't care if he wins the overall, but just showing more, like just confirming what we saw in Moto 2 in Hangtown, then I think it's on. Then I think you have to take him serious in this championship as being the guy. And we have to rethink it. I still think Pro Circuit's the best team, but Davies could be squarely in the fight. So this weekend, I don't have to give you many reasons to watch. There are a million, but Davies' confirmation for me is going to be right near the top.
Okay, SMX medical update time. We bring on the good doctor, Dr. Joe McGinley, who has been doing some more crazy physical activity of his own, but we'll get to that in a moment because we got to go back to the last time we had talked to you about crazy physical activity. You were going to the other side of the world to try to scale Everest. It's not quite that gnarly for the Coenen twins coming over from MXGP in Latvia, and they live in Belgium, France area in Europe. They got to California on Monday. They're going to ride a little bit out there, then make their way over to Colorado. I don't know. Is that enough time? First of all, for time zones to just not even be a factor at all. And let's get into the real thing, which is racing at elevation, which they haven't really done much of, not at this height, at least.
Well, they're going to be flying into elevation. They're going to feel it, that's for sure. It's not enough time to adapt and get used to the elevation. So as we talked about before, there are things that you can do ahead of time as well as while you're there and at the race to prepare. The biggest thing is going to be fluids and electrolytes. You need to almost double your fluid intake. You don't want to get dehydrated. Also, you can take oral anti-inflammatories, aspirin, ibuprofen. That can sometimes help prophylactically, especially with headaches and some of the discomfort. And then changing your eating habits. So carbs are a little bit better. They're easier to process, give you a little bit more energy. And then finally, preparing for that moto just a little bit earlier so you get warmed up. You're used to the elevation. You're used to what it's going to feel like out there.
The series is hosting an open practice on Friday because all the teams are always fighting to get into press day. So I think it was Mitch Payton, the Pro Circuit, that said, why don't you just let everybody ride? So they're going to have full practice on Friday, which they don't normally do. You can remind us what you always tell us is that sounds like, oh, great, they get a whole day to acclimate. But you often said that's actually worse.
Yeah, you either have to come early or show up late. The in-between is the challenging part. Riders that may not be used to riding at elevation, the one benefit is they'll feel what it's like. But as far as adapting to it, that's not going to be enough time. So yeah, you typically have to be at least a week ahead of time or day before the race. Those are the two time periods to minimize the effects of the elevation.
Are there specific things they could do to help offset the jet lag?
There is a formula, there is a plan. It's a little bit different for each rider. But again, the general rule of thumb is sleep, hydration, rest, and proper food, and making sure you warm up before you're getting out there. They should do just fine.
Hey, we could say you speak from experience when it comes to pushing your body to the limit. So I thought we might see you at Hangtown. You were in the Northern California area, but tell everybody what you were doing over the weekend.
I was close by. I was swimming from Alcatraz. So on Friday, I swam from Alcatraz as a practice swim. I actually had my personal best time. And then on Sunday, I competed in the Escape from Alcatraz, the formal triathlon. It's one of the toughest triathlons in the world. I had a blast. The water was perfect. I got a second swim from Alcatraz this weekend. It was number 10 for me overall. You know, everyone focuses on the swim, but the hard part's when you get out of that water and you still have that bike and run to go. But man, it was stunningly beautiful. I felt great. I had a wonderful time. It was great to be back in the waters again and getting my 10th swim from Alcatraz completed this past Sunday.
All right, little active recovery for you this week. Get well soon.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm actually wearing one of our wearable ultrasound devices right now, my muscles, to relax them out. So yeah, practice what you preach.
All right, thanks for the info. We'll see you soon. Oh, we finally get to discuss WMX. We've been talking about it all year, but now there is a race officially in the books. Moto on Friday and then on Saturday at Hangtown, and it lived up to the hype, JT. 2 races that came down to the last lap. So really the 2 most exciting motos of the weekend were the 2 WMX motos, Charlie Cannon and LaLa Turner going for it. And now, kind of like the Coenen twins coming into 250s and 450s, we have a visitor from MXGP jumping into that class too.
Yeah, Lotte Van Drunen has been, she's been looking to come over and be a part of this WMX championship for a while. Hasn't yet worked out, and I wasn't even sure it was going to this season either because she had a big crash recently and the Yamaha powers that be wanted her to focus on their WMX championship. But something changed recently, and she will be making an appearance here at Thunder Valley. Now, make no mistake, this has not been her best season. She has had crashes, she has had inconsistent results, but when she is right, and especially on a sand track, and I know Thunder Valley is not a sand track, but on a sand track, she is one of the best women racers in the world. So I'm very curious just to kind of see where she stacks up against the likes of Charlie Cannon, LaLa Turner, Michaela Nielsen. I don't have a hard opinion on this. There's a lot of variables similar to what the Coenens will face on the men's side. There's a lot of differences between what this racetrack will be and what they're used to racing upon. So it's anybody's guess as to what that's going to look like, but it is a huge addition to what is already a great championship.
Yeah, I think there was pressure on the WMX racers to really do a good job and put on a good show. And in the first lap and a half of the moto on Friday, it looked like, oh, the bubble is burst because LaLa Turner had taken off. Then she fell, then they battled, then maybe Cannon might have been faster on Saturday. I think we can pretty much write it in stone now. You're going to see good racing all year long. Now let's go back to the 450 class. So Haiden Deegan, as I always say, there are 2 ways to judge Haiden Deegan, just as the racer or on all the other hype and marketing and great things that he does to build the hype. Now look, he really put it out there with some trash talk on Jett Lawrence coming in. So it is very hard to remove that from the equation. But if you do, just try to judge him as a racer. I feel like 3rd in the second race. You look at the guys he beat. He's not there with the Lawrences. He's got a lot of other guys covered. If you just judge the results, this is pretty good.
It is, and I think it is very much what we have seen from Haiden Deegan throughout the course of his career. Starts out on a really good level, and then it just gets better and better and better from there. And through 2 rounds, it's exactly the same course of action. Talked about the starts were terrible at round 1. Well, guess where he started at round 2? Right near the front. That's already a step in the right direction. He needs to find consistency there, which will get, a completely different dynamic at the elevation of Thunder Valley. So we'll see how that all plays out. But his pace was better. Look at that lap time he threw down in the first qualifying session. He was actually fastest for a while. So all the things you want to see, starts, speed, those things are getting better. We know he's fit. We know he's capable. We know the mental fortitude he has. Once the rest of those things all collectively combine like a transformer, he's going to be in the fight. I don't know that he's going to win this year. That's not for me to decide. But I do very much believe in their program, which is attack your weaknesses until you have none. And I think we're already starting to see the small fruits of that labor show up.
Yeah, again, I think on the racer side, it's just a matter of when, not if, because he's already shown he could do it at every level previously. Of course, there's the acknowledgement of the other side. They leaned in, and this was awesome. This is what the fans wanted. They leaned in hard on Haiden versus Jett. I keep saying over and over, this was not a media-only creation. They created a lot of this themselves. So that does mean that when he doesn't beat Jett, it is somewhat the bar that they have set, and that's what makes it so compelling to watch, whether you love Deegs or hate Deegs. That's what people are watching. Last thing we want to tackle here is the actual track at Thunder Valley. This one's been around. It's funny, it's been around more than 20 years now, but it still feels like one of the newer tracks because so many of the others have been around for 50-some years. But these riders know their way around. Take us through it.
Yeah, I mean, if you really go back to the origins of this national, you're talking 40 years plus. But this particular racetrack in its current form, yes, I was there the first year, 2005, and it looked very similar to this. You're talking about 5,000 plus feet of elevation, so the bikes are going to be really slow. A lot of guys are going to start in first gear, so that's a lot of change that the teams go through. And very similar to what we talked about in the Monster Energy Supercross series with Denver and Salt Lake. Riders are going to kind of punch up the compression. They're going to give it all the power that they have to try to offset those things. But it does change the way the bikes handle, the way the bikes work. So there's an adaptation period that goes on, and that Friday open practice will help a lot. But it is I would say one of the most unique races on the schedule because of all those variables. But it's also one of the most fun. A lot of elevation, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of traction too. So I think it's one of those races where a lot of guys will have a smile on their face on Friday because it's a really fun track to ride.
Okay, all that bench racing. Man, is this going to be a fun show this weekend. Come out in person. If you're anywhere near Lakewood, Colorado, outside of Denver, or tune in with all these storylines up for grabs. We'll once again tell you how to watch. It'll start at noon Eastern with Race Day Live, 1 hour coverage streaming on Peacock or the SMX Video Pass outside the United States. 50% off now since we're halfway through the season. So if you're an MXGP follower outside America, you want to see how the Coenens do, just sign up for the SMX Video Pass. Racing will start at 3 o'clock Eastern time. It'll go for 4+ hours streaming live. That will include WMX Moto 2, which will be the end of the day. 450s, by the way, race first. 250s race second. 2 motos, of course, in those 2 classes. And the live SMX Insider post-race show presented by Bass Pro Shops. And there is a live NBC 2-hour show that will start at 4 Eastern to get a 450 and 250 moto in live at NBC. JT, the 30 board really says it all. There are so many stories converging on this weekend. Somehow we've gone 3 rounds, and we still have a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, listen, I don't know when your beloved Knicks are going to play this coming weekend, but this, I think, has more storylines than that. We don't have Joe and Brunson, but we got Lawrence's and Coenens and Deegans and more. So make sure you tune in this weekend. It doesn't really get much better for pro motocross than what we have right now.
In a perfect world, by the time the fans are watching this show, there won't be an NBA Finals anymore, and the Knicks will have already won it. If not, I'm going to be sweating it all day Saturday because we got to focus on all these stories first before what would be Game 5. That's not going to happen. We're good. Let's focus on SMX, the Coenens, Deegan, the Lawrences, WMX battles, Pro Circuit. Are they back, or back? We're going to find out this weekend. Thanks for watching.